Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pest Control Legends. I'm your host, Dan Leibrandt, and today I'm with Greg Young, the co-founder of Natura Pest Control. Greg has spent nearly 2 decades building and scaling pest control businesses across the US. He started his first company in 2012 and grew that business to 5 offices, then sold it in 2017 for over $4 million. That same year, he started over from scratch and has since built back to roughly $7 million in revenue. In this episode, we're going to talk about the keys to scaling a pest control business, navigating partnerships, and building teams that actually last. Now, without further ado, Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Of course, man. So, as we were talking before the show, we met through the Facebook group, and I was super intrigued with your story. Obviously, I know Natura because I interviewed Eric 2 times before, but I didn't realize
Right.
it seems like you're almost like the mastermind behind the whole Natura operation. So,
Well, mastermind sounds really cool. No, yeah, me and my buddy, we started it back in 2012 and then partnered with Eric's brother-in-law Jake and his wife in a branch together in Vancouver, Washington. And we grew that together for a while, and then we split ways in 2017. So masterminds feels really cool. I appreciate you saying it that way.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean,
Of course.
we created the name, created logo, all that stuff ourselves, and yeah, started from scratch.
Yeah. So to backtrack a little bit there, were you in pest control before that, or how did you get into the industry?
And oh, great question. I was doing door to door sales. My I went and served a mission for my church, like a lot of guys do that do door to door, and then they come back and someone's like, "Dude, come sell pest control," and I was like, "That's so stupid. I'm not going to waste my time knocking doors. I just did that for 2 years for religion. It's not easy." So I had my buddy, who was actually the co-founder of Natura with me. He went and sold for Clark Pest Control for a summer and made great money. And he came back and I'm like, dude, if you can do it, I can do it. And so the next year we went and did it together. And then we started a marketing company together in 2008 and or 2009, and then grew that. And after a while, we're like, man, we're making a lot of pest control companies a lot of money doing the sales rep thing. We should start our own pest control company. And that's how Natura, that's how I got into pest control. And that's how Natura started. And yeah.
Interesting. I never knew you had a marketing company. So you said you were helping place sales reps, or what was that?
That's right. Yeah. So back, I mean, when there's a lot of different, I mean, back before companies were doing like, Aptive and a lot of, I mean, even, Pest Badger, they place their own, they do their own in-house recruiting and sales. And you have some marketing companies out there like the Grit, things like that. Back in the day, I'm old, you said I've been in pest control for 2 decades, and I was like, holy crap, that's a silly thing to say. But back in the day, there was a lot less marketing companies. And so I was one of them. It was a company called Spark Marketing. And we were, I mean, we I think we had between 60 and 80, 90 reps every year that would come out and sell for us, and which is solid. And we placed reps all up and down the West Coast, Texas, Georgia. But our biggest, I mean, primarily we were in California. That was
Mm.
all up and down the state. We were, and then yeah, and then with the Natura in Vancouver, we got up into the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, we had sales reps all over the place. Texas, California were our main markets.
Got it. And to be clear, that's door to door, guys.
Door to door guys. That's right. All door to door. Yeah. So that's how we got in. That's how I got into it. We got really good at recruiting good guys that knew how to sell long-term contracts and long-lasting contracts for pest control companies. And dude, it was a fun time. But
Mm.
we converted from door to door to pest control, and then we had our own internal door to door. But yeah, that's how we primarily grown up until the last year or so.
Interesting. Okay. So then you started the company in 2012. Walk me through the first few years or so. What was that like?
Dude, the first year was so crazy. So I mean, I felt kind of thinking, kind of felt like feeling pretty confident because I already owned a company, and it
Mhm.
was successful. And I was like, oh dude, pest control is going to be so easy. We have the hardest part. The hardest part is the customer acquisition channel. Like, we're adding, $1 million pretty easy per branch that we're selling in. And And so we thought it would be really easy. That first year, it was crazy. Like I was working, like I'd go into the office in the morning and I work in this like shop with no windows. And sometimes I wouldn't see the daylight. Like I would just be in there, just working, building crap out, or I'd be underneath a truck, rigging up a truck. And it was very different than we thought it would be. A lot of hours. But that first year, we've had sales reps selling for Clark Pest Control in Fresno, California. There's a place called Visalia, Bakersfield. While also we opened our own pest control company in Turlock, California, which is just north of Fresno, south of Modesto. So that first year we had sales reps out selling for other clients and started our own thing. And just in our own branch, we put on like 1.2 million, 1.1 million, 1.2 million that first year. So
Wow.
that was a good first year for us. Like that was awesome. It was worth the hard work. Looking back, I wish we continued to sell for the other client while we continued to build that one branch. I think we jumped into multiple branches pretty quickly. And things got really hairy when we started doing that. Just span of control. And yeah, I mean, the number one thing we needed was good leadership. And we did not have a good leadership bench built in our business. So when we grew, we had some serious growing pains.
So the problem there with expansion was mainly having leaders in different places. You moving forward, or like from now on or from then on, you want to be a little bit more cautious to grow until you have a designated leader or leaders.
Yeah, so I think there's two things that happened to us in California that were two really good lessons for me to learn. First is the success of the team is most closely linked to their immediate manager or supervisor. And so if you don't have good people that understand the culture of the business, that understand pest control and the product and service you're trying to put out, then you're going to have some issues. We didn't have that. We didn't have really great leadership options. So that was one lesson. The second one I would say is we were all salespeople, the owners. There's 3 owners. We were all salespeople at heart. And so we built a sales business that was acting like a pest control company. And so we didn't, the criticism I give to ourselves is we didn't have great leadership, a leadership bench. And then number 2 is we didn't have a really good, like our vision, our goal was not to be great at pest control. If we were being honest with ourselves, we thought it was, but it was to sell a crap load of accounts. And we did that. I mean, in the 3 years we were there, 4 years technically, but really 3 full summers, we sold like 20,000 accounts. And that's not including the Vancouver branch. Like, so we sold tons of accounts. We got what we wanted, essentially is what happened. We got exactly what we wanted. Tons of accounts. The thing we didn't get was lasting customers, employees that loved their job. And so, yeah, those were, I mean, as I look back, some of the key takeaways were be really clear on your vision, what you want, because what you really want in your heart is what's going to be made manifest. And so if you just want to have a lot of revenue, you can have a lot of revenue. You might not make a lot of money. You know, if you want a lot of money, you might have a really great profit margins, but you might be really small. So understand what you really want in your heart. That's what's going to be made manifest. And then there's a concept that I really love. I've come to really like, and it's the leadership one. It's the idea of who, not how. I don't know if you've read that book or seen that book. But that's been really revolutionary for us. And so when you're looking for leadership and you're looking to roll out something new, or you're trying to bring in a new idea, I would always ask, man, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And now, over the last few years, we've trained ourselves to start thinking, who's going to do this? Who's going to do this? Who are we going to bring on? Who's the leader that's going to take this by the horns? Who's going to do it? And that gets really easy when you have a vision in your business that attracts people, because then you get really great people. Yeah, that's a really long answer for what you asked.
That was awesome, dude. Yeah. That's already made the podcast worth it. That was so good. Yeah, I wanted to push more on that point of knowing what you want. I mean, it sounds so simple saying it, but I feel like that's one of the main problems with a lot of owners is they kind of just coast in their business, or maybe they're just so busy they're working, 14, 16-hour days, and they don't even not even don't have enough time or don't want to give enough time to
Yeah.
really understanding what they want. But I think you would agree, and you were basically saying that that is going to be crucial for where you end up. If you are working nonstop and maybe you end up building a massive business, but maybe you didn't even want a massive business. Maybe you actually just
Right.
wanted a small, profitable business.
Yeah, I mean, that's has been one of the biggest things I learned. I've had a lot of partners in over my time of running Natura, having Natura, and the biggest thing has been our greatest success and our greatest weakness is when we weren't aligned or didn't understand or weren't honest with ourselves about what we were really wanting. Um, Anytime that I felt obligated to align my wants with somebody else because they want it, or anytime someone else has had to do the same thing for me because that's what I want. So we kind of like convince each other. Who has the best argument, can kind of win, and you get what I call a false yes from people.
Mm,
But when you don't really know what you want, and you don't really know what your partners want, and you don't really know what your employees want, when those things aren't on the same page, it causes chaos. Um, and I am a real believer that whatever you actually want, you will make manifest.
mm,
For good or bad. Um, like, yeah, I mean, for the longest time, like, this is so crazy to me. I look back, I used to not even know how much revenue my business was doing because that's not the thing I cared about. When we were in
mm.
California, I didn't care about the revenue. I cared about the number of accounts that we put on. And so, like, I remember being in a group with a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and they asked what my top line was. I didn't know. I had no idea.
Mm.
I knew how many customers I had, you know, and over time, it's like, and so, yeah, we grew a really quick, fast business when we were in California, but we were losing customers out the back. Our employees weren't having a good time, but we were getting what we actually, in my opinion, what we deep down wanted in our heart, which was a company that was selling a ton of accounts and growing really big. And when you can dial in and figure out and be honest with yourself and figure out what you really want, and if you have a partner and you guys are really on the same page, dude, Dan, that is magic. And it's synergy. It's synergy like I had never experienced before. I before I had it.
Mm. Got it. So I'm sure across your career, you've wanted a lot of different things. Like you're saying, you wanted, you're just tracking accounts. So at this stage now, what do you want?
Yeah. So it's funny. I've been dialing this in and trying to hone this for myself. Um, so like I want a company. I want to be in a business where we create peaks for our customers and we grow our people. And that's the answer I give to people that I don't tell when I don't tell the revenue number. Like those are the
Mm,
two pieces of the puzzle that are non-revenue. And then the revenue number. So right now we're striving for 20 million by the end of 2028. That's our goal for the end of 2028. So I want a $20 million business that creates huge peaks for our customers and grows our employees. That's my current goal. And then after that, we've got vision further out from that. We want to be on the PCT top 100 in the top 20 by a certain day with that drives peaks for our customers and we grow great people.
mm. Awesome. I think you're definitely going to do it. And I think another good point you were mentioning, kind of adjacent, is not just knowing what you want, but I mean, you have to come into agreement with what your partners want. And I
Yeah.
feel like I was saying you have such a good perspective on this because you've had 6 different business partners. Maybe some of them go well, some of them don't. So
Yeah.
let's just like start generally with business partners. Do you think people should have one or not? Hey guys, Dan Leibrandt here. Real quick, if you're a pest control owner looking to grow, I have 2 amazing resources for you. Number one is our free Pest Control Millionaires Facebook group. We have over 3,000 owners just like you in our community and would love for you to be a part of it. Just go search Pest Control Millionaires on Facebook and request to join the group now. Number two is our book, Zip Code Kings. This was authored by me, Jonas Olson, and Jake Sheldon to be the ultimate guide to pest control marketing. We discuss everything from branding and traditional marketing to local SEO and Facebook ads. Go to Amazon and search Zip Code Kings to get your copy today. Now, that being said, let's get back to the show.
Oh, so that's such a hard question. There's no like real answer to that. So I find that I am a business partner guy. I want a business partner. I love my business partner. Now it's important for us, both of us, to always be on the same page. As I look back, I think there's some partnerships I held on to for too long because I love relationships. And so the way I would answer that question, Dan, I wish there was just this yes, no, black and white answer, but yeah, it doesn't exist for me. Here's the thing. If you're going to partner with somebody, make sure it's somebody that you guys are really aligned with vision. You're going to the same destination. Now, the key piece to that is you may not always be on the same track. You might hit some huge milestones. You might 10x your business. You might hit these things, and you might get to a point where what you fundamentally want is different, and that is okay. There's no shame. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you see a lot of people say before you get in a partnership, build out your partnership agreement, because that so often happens where you get to a fork in the road. Two people want different things. My co-founder and I, one of my very favorite people in the world, we built this business together. We were also co-founders with a marketing company. And in 2024, middle of 2024, we just realized that we wanted different things. And that triggered an exit. And he realized it, and I realized it. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to go where you want to go anymore. And I can see that if I stay here, I'm going to hold you back. And in that moment, I realized, like, well, I'm holding him back because where he wants to go is different than me. And that actually was really hard. We've been together, since the beginning. I've been working with him as a partner or as just coworkers since 2005. So that was 20 years at the time. But I guess the thing I would say is make sure you really want a partner, and make sure you both are going to bring something to the table that you'll value down the road. Because what I see happen a lot of times are people like, we're friends or we're family and we get along, so business will go great. And I find that is very much not the case. You have to have the same vision and want the same thing at the end, or think you want the same thing at the end. And then you got to be willing to amicably cut and run when it's time to cut and run. And there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with it. I used to have a really hard time with the idea of letting go of a partner. And I held on to some partnerships for way too long because I felt like it was bad. Like, oh, we can fix this. We can, but yeah. So
Got it.
should you have a partner? I don't know. It's different for every person. I'm a partners guy. Yeah, I'll tell you yes if you can find the right person.
Gotcha. Okay, so it depends. Yeah, I've had many businesses. Most of them haven't worked out, but of course, it's fun to build a business with other people. It's like a great time. You can share in this experience. You usually grow faster. But something I was going to ask you there, which I've heard across a lot of other people with partnerships, is you should have different skill sets. So maybe you're a sales guy and they're an operations guy or whatever it might be. Do you agree with that? Have you found that?
I think that's generally good advice. I do not think that is a hard and fast rule that I would stick so hard to that I would say no to people. So I think that's generally good advice, especially as you're starting out and as you're small, because as you're small and as you're growing, you're going to wear a lot of different hats, and it's beneficial to have people wearing different hats. So, one of the things with my current partner, Andrew Burris, who's absolutely a killer, he didn't start out as a partner. He realized that he was one of our branch managers. He was a good branch manager in California. And he realized that the owners were 3 pest control sales guys. So he learned pest control like crazy, became an insanely good operator. And then because we needed some diversification in our skill sets, we brought him on as a partner. However, now we're at a point where, so that's why my caveat to this is that worked really well when we were small, but now we're at a point where I don't care about his skill set as an operator anymore. And he would have, when my highest and best use now is not in sales and marketing like it used to be. So we're at a point where at the time it was nice to wear different hats, but
Mm.
your business will get to a point where it outgrows your expertise. And if it doesn't, you're probably the bottleneck in your business.
Yeah.
So we're at a point where it's outgrown our expertise. He's no longer the operator. I'm no longer the sales and marketing guy. And our business is bigger than that. We have an operator who's better than he was, and we have a sales guy that's better than I ever was, and we have a marketing guy that's better than I ever was. And so that's why I give that answer. It's like, yes, it's really good when you're small and you're wearing the hats. But if that's all that person can ever offer for the long term of your business, that'll end up being a bottleneck that holds you back. Because as your business grows and expands, the chances of that person always being the best at their craft and what the business needs is statistically pretty low. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but they've got to level up at the pace that your business is scaling.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the roles always evolve, and I mean, you're probably eventually going to hire someone better at that thing anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But I think something that does really matter here, and this is my last question around partnerships, is when, like in maybe the successful partnerships that you've had, or you're potentially looking at adding on other partners, what are some of the top traits you're looking for in these people?
Yeah. So for me, before I would ever, so if I were going to align with somebody right now, which I'm not looking to do, but if I was going to, they would have to be really hungry. Like that hunger and willingness to do whatever it takes to hit your goals, that has to be fierce. And as soon as that's not like fierce and strong, and I can't see that in you, and there's a place where I like to live in my comfort zone, and then I'm like, okay, this probably isn't a person that I want to align with. Now, I feel the same way about anyone on my leadership team. We aren't here for comfort. We're not going to get to our goals by staying comfortable. And so, yeah, for me, that's the number one trait. They've got to, and obviously the table stake stuff. You can't be a total jerk. You have to be willing. You have to be able to get along with other people, but you've got to be hungry, and you've got to, because, I mean, as you know, running a business is really hard. I have a friend I go to church with, and they were saying, I'm going to start a business, and I've seen all my family start a business, and it's been so, she was expressing to us that she's excited to get through the business setup part so she could finally just be the business owner, and it'll be so much easier. And I remember thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh, you have no idea what's coming. And sure enough, the business started scaling, it started going well, and she's swamped. And that's, I don't think people really understand that happens. So if you're not really hungry deep down, you don't really, really want what you're going to go get. If you're not going to strive and reach for more, then you'll get eaten alive. That maybe I'm sounding too harsh on that, but that's how I see it.
No, I totally agree. Especially those first few years of getting off the ground, it takes a special breed.
Dude, I'll tell you that those first few years, we were growing so fast that I think I'd have to get the real number, but I remember it being like 20 months without a full paycheck.
Ooh.
Like we went like 6 or 7 months with no paycheck, and then we just started paying enough for our mortgage. I destroyed my savings, destroyed everything. Like, yeah, it would have been so easy just to give up, but anyways, it's hard. It can be really hard.
So why did you do that? Just because you're so hungry?
So maybe it's hunger. Yeah, I think I find myself perpetually optimistic, maybe to my detriment sometimes. And sometimes I look back, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know how hard that was. Like I think I have a thing in my head that lies to me. I'll lies to myself about what's actually happening. But I never felt like we had succeeded. And so, I mean, what are we doing this for if we're not going to go hit our goals? And, soon enough, things shifted and things got better. And then Terminix made an offer, and it was a good offer. And we got out of California, which was, in our opinion, a terrible place to do business. We did not like doing business in California. It was a good option, a good opportunity. It ended up being really good. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason we kept going is because I just don't feel like we ever hit our goals.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. Just that relentless ambition. That's why I see a lot of guys get stuck, is they just don't. I mean, again, back to the original point, like they don't really want it. They say they want it, but
Yeah.
they don't act like it, which means they don't probably.
Yeah, if you want all the upside of running a business without the downside of it, you're gonna get destroyed.
Mm.
Because typically what ends up happening is people see their friends that run a business, they've gone through all the hard stuff. And so by the time you become their friend, or all you've ever seen is the upside of their lifestyle, the flexible schedule, the ability to take distributions when they're there. And typically, most entrepreneurs aren't complaining to their friends about the hard stuff. And so there ends up being this skew. So the guys get into the business, or they've worked for a boss forever and they have a skewed perspective. And then they get into it and they're not getting the flexible schedule because that doesn't exist for years. They're not getting the paycheck because that doesn't exist for years. They're not getting the free time with their family because that doesn't exist for years.
100%. That's the brutal reality that most people don't want to hear. And I'm glad you mentioned the exit. I wanted to jump into that. So you guys sold for over $4 million. That you mentioned it was Terminix. So walk me through that. I mean, why did you sell and how did that go?
Yeah, so in the state of California, we had 3 employees that sued us 4 times over bogus things, just totally bogus things, like just made up stuff. And they know that at the end of the day, if they push hard enough, the only way that we can convince them is to go to court. The only way we could win is to go to court, and going to court is way more expensive than giving them $10 or $15 or $30,000. And so they did that 4 times. And California has a law, which this is my frustration with California. California has a law. It's a PEGA lawsuit, which is a class action lawsuit without providing a class. And one of our employees did one of those. And so we got sued on behalf of all our employees without any of our employees knowing it. And whole thing. My business partner, his name's Austin Graham. He was one of the 3 of us in California. He went and just masterfully negotiated that thing. But so all of that happened. We were losing customers at a clip that we were not comfortable with. And I moved away from I realized that we have 3 salespeople here. So I moved out of sales and into the operations seat, and I built this new operational plan for us to move forward that I was all excited about. And then Terminix made an offer, and it was a lot of money. And we hadn't been paying ourselves, we'd just gone 20 months. We just started paying ourselves a little bit more. And, they offered us a lot of money. And then also the Natura up in Washington, they made an offer to buy out our portion too. So those 2 things combined was a lot of money. And we just were like, man, let's do it. And I had this new plan to move forward that if we would have stayed in California and tried to revamp our operations and revamp our culture, I was estimating it was a 3 to 5 year transition process to get us operating the way we wanted. And so the idea of being able to sell, get some money, go start fresh, just deploy that new plan right out of the gate was enticing. And that's exactly what happened. We started we sold in January of 2017, started in April of 2017 in Reno, and our retention and customer experience and employee experience is way better because that plan it worked. It was a good plan, but it would have taken forever to execute in a business with bad culture, churning customers and employees that are trying to sue you. So that's what happened.
Okay. No, that totally makes sense. So the business and you guys were in kind of a tough situation, and it was like a blessing that you got this order. Now you can start from scratch. So
yeah.
And I wanted to ask you this. I always love asking this question for people that have sold and started back again. So what changed starting again from scratch? How did you approach the business differently than previous times?
So this is going to be, I think, maybe a different answer than what you're expecting. But the thing to change for me is my perception of money. So with my first business, everything was on a shoestring. Money was tight. We had to make every dollar stretch. So we were hiring technicians that weren't the greatest technicians because we were so focused on the hourly wage number. After we sold and I had money in my hands, my view on everything shifted. And I was like, oh, we have money and we have resources. And it put me in a situation where I realized I don't ever want to be in a situation where we're tied really we're tight financially. So for me, that influenced the thing that changed the most is we shifted to a customer-centric plan, and then we charged a good amount of money for it. We made sure our prices were always optimized. In California, we were playing a price game because we were trying to help our sales reps get as many sales as they can and all. So we stopped playing the price game and went to a value-based proposition, still sold by door to door. And so the thing that shifted for me was my perception of money and quality. And at the end of the day, the thing that matters the most is providing value to your customers and your employees. Because if you provide value there, everything else just kind of works out. That's my biggest takeaway. I don't know if that's a question, if that's the answer, type of answer you're looking for, but that was my biggest takeaway from our sell. And the thing that we did that influenced me the most in our reset.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. And I think that's the trouble with a lot of owners. I mean, I kind of already said this before, but a lot of the owners that I talk to and, in our community and so forth, they are maybe desperate to get customers. They don't have enough time. So in a perfect world, how you got your exit and now you had some financial reserves, now you can approach business the right way, which I think that should be the goal, is when now you have the capital to expend, which I don't know, maybe that's people just increasing their prices a little bit so they can now have some financial leeway to do things the right way. But no, I think that's a really good insight. And something you mentioned there, and I think you've mentioned it several times now, is being focused on customers or being customer-centric. So what exactly does that mean, and what does that entail?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question, because for me, it means a very specific thing. When we were in California, so I'm a big believer that, and I could be wrong here, and this might be too of an absolute statement. I don't mean it to be, but I think this serves a point. And that is, if you are a technician that transfers into pest control ownership, chances of you running your business the way that you ran as a tech are really high. If you're a salesperson that transfers into pest control ownership, this is what I did. We cared about the same metrics we did as a salesperson. I was recently talking to a guy that was an accountant that transferred into pest control. And this guy was awesome. I loved his insights because he had insights that I never had about financial levers and how to set up the business strategically. And he has grown his business really, really, really well. And I think his background has served him. So I think we come into businesses with our backgrounds, and that serves us really well for a while. And it can be a leg up, but also it ends up getting in our way. And so, like I said, a lot of times in California, we were very sell-centric. What I realized we weren't doing is we're not serving the customer the best way. And so as a salesperson, I'm thinking, what does the customer want? Well, I'm thinking from the filter of a salesperson. As a technician, you might be thinking, that's now an owner, you might be thinking, what does the customer want? And you think from that way. If you're an accountant, you might be thinking that you have a filter that you're seeing your business systems and processes through. And what we did in California, when I moved to operations, I said, we need to become customer centric. So I stopped thinking about the business from a salesperson point of view. I didn't think about it from an operations point of view. I thought about it from a customer's point of view. And what do I want to experience as a customer? And then we built this roadmap, and we've refined it over the years. Now it's an 8-step roadmap that all our customers has to travel through. It starts at brand awareness, and it ends in you being a loyal customer for 50 years. And there's 8 steps that you pass, 7 steps, we've merged a couple, that you pass through in order to have the right experience. And then what we do is we build all of our processes and systems underneath that. So, because what can happen on accident, if you have a process and if you have an operational mindset, you have a process that makes sense operationally because it increases efficiencies. However, what ends up happening is it ends up creating a burden on the customer. Or just as simple as, hey, if you need us to come back, give us a call. Or if you're a technician out on, the process for a pest control company, for a customer that needs to reschedule, they're on the door with the customer and the customer's like, hey, I can't do it today. Like, cool, give us a call and we'll set something up for you. In my opinion, you've just passed the ball to the customer, and that's not the customer's job. It may be the customer's fault, but at the end of the day, it's the pest control company's problem to solve. So when you view it through the customer's point of view, I don't ever want the ball to be in the customer's court. I don't want the initiative to be on the customer. It's us. It's our job. So we built out this process, and then we built all our core processes and policies below that. And sometimes it means, and it's tricky, we have to review these every so often, because you'll have a manager over a certain branch that's like, oh guys, it'd be so much easier if we just did, we skipped this step or put these two steps together. And we're like, no. There's a sequence of events up at the top. It's our customer experience roadmap that we must follow. And it helps provide, that roadmap, make sure the customer has expectations set up front, make sure that we understand what their expectations are, and make sure that we exceed those expectations early, and make sure that we validate that we've done our job. So it has all these steps that we go through, and it also makes sure that we don't contact your customer too much, So when I say a customer-centric business, what I mean is we, instead of making our knowledge or our background the center of how we build our processes and procedures, we've made the experience we need or we want our customer to have as a center, and then built everything around that.
That is such a good take. I don't think I've heard anyone say that, at least not in this industry, of your background defines you. I mean, it's so obvious, just like maybe the neighborhood you grow up in and the people you're around and all of that stuff. If you go into it as a sales guy, you're going to have kind of like a sales oriented business, and the same with anything else. So you kind of have to erase that in a sense. And I'm sure, because you started as a sales guy and you said that you guys were putting on tons of accounts. You put on 20,000 accounts in a fairly short time period. I'm guessing the churn was pretty high there. So talk to me about the results here, and particularly churn. Like, how's the churn varied?
So when we were in California, we had months, we had periods of time. I don't remember what they were, but I remember looking one time and like, holy crap, we churned 38% in the year.
Wow.
And I had this panic moment because I realized the only thing that's keeping us in business is the high growth. And the thing that's killing us is the churn. And so in order for us to stay in business, we have to grow even more. But we're going to lose it. So that's why I pulled out of sales. I'm like, we need to come up with a operation. We need someone to actually operate the business. I don't think we were always 38%. That was one period of time. But I will say, here's a good hard number. We added about 18,000 accounts in California, and we sold 8,000. And so we lost a lot, We lost a lot of customers. Now we lose between 15 and 16%. We've had years where, if we grow a lot with door to door, I think in 2023 we grew a lot, and we were up like at 18% that year. That was a bad year for us. This year I think we'll hit 14.5. We're working really hard to get that number down to 12, and which is hard to do when you're scaling. When you add 30-40% of growth, and then people can. It's hard to keep those. It's hard to keep a sub 15 rate when you're growing with door to door really quickly. But I've met with other. I also know a lot of door to door companies that would die to only lose, 16% of their customer base. So I think we were really good at keeping customers while doing door to door. We can always get better, but I think we got pretty dialed with that. The years that we don't do door to door, because we had a few years where we don't do door to door. In 2022, we had no door to door, and we had sub 12% loss that year. We saw good growth. We didn't grow by 30%. Had great growth. I think it was 15. 8. I can't remember the number. It was more than 10%, less than 20, and we lost 12%. And so, that's in California. We were losing them like crazy. We couldn't hold on to them, and I feel like our numbers are a lot better now. We're not the best in the industry. I was at a table with a guy just recently, and since he's been in business, he's only lost 2% of his customers. Wow. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That's so great. he's still doing all the services. I think that matters a lot.
Okay.
And he knows and he acknowledges that as he scales, that'll shift. But man, I was sitting there, I'm like, Matt, what can I learn from this guy? This is so great. 2%. You've been in business for 4 years and you've lost 2% of your customers.
Yeah.
So our goal actually is to get to an 8% attrition rate per year by 2028. That's our goal. When I say, yeah, that's our goal.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, what I've seen usually is that churn is higher for door-to-door just because it's, you started the relationship, but maybe they felt a little pressured in the sale, whatever it is. I feel like in the industry, I mean, a lot of the multi-7 and 8-figure owners that I talk to have grown through door-to-door, but a lot of other people in the industry, like there's a whole controversial post in our Facebook group maybe 2 months ago or so, and there's like maybe 80 comments, and a lot of people were hating on door-to-door. So I know, what are your general thoughts on door-to-door? Do you think it's ethical, or what do you say to people that say you shouldn't do it?
I think it's certainly ethical. I mean, I think the non-ethical argument is a hard one to really defend. Are there sales reps that are not ethical on the doors? Yeah, sure. Just like there's pest control owners or other sales reps that are not door to door that are not ethical. Like, so to say that an entire customer acquisition source is unethical, I think that's usually, I think that's a hard stance to hold. And I've seen people say it, and it's not,
Yeah.
it's doesn't surprise me. I totally get it. So my thought on door to door is, I like it in two specific ways. The most, when you have a greenfield location, opening a new office, new spot, and you want to get up to a certain revenue spot, so you start canceling at a certain rate. I just think, unless you're doing an acquisition, there's just nothing that's going to get you there quicker than door to door. Like, there's just not. And so, like, when we opened Reno, we were able to quickly get to $1.5 million that first year. We were able to pay out our sales reps. We were cash flowing. It was great. The worst part about door to door on opening a new branch is when they don't succeed, and you're under that $1 million threshold. Then you've got a few brutal years to dig yourself out of. But so that's situation number one, where I like door to door, is a greenfield office, a new office. Situation number two is right after you make an acquisition and your route density isn't really tight. Throw a door to door team on top into that market, and choose your areas to densify your customer base. We've deployed that through 2 of our acquisitions, and that has made that branch instantly more valuable. It's been really expensive, but it's made it instantly more valuable. So those are the 2 situations where I'm saying, man, you should do door to door. The thing I would caution people against is, I think it's very difficult and pretty rare to build a door-to-door company that lasts, like, that's your channel for the long haul, and it's like your single channel. First, I think any single channel is risky, and so I see a lot of people that do door-to-door, and that they have this single channel risk, and that's a real thing. So I would advise against that. Get diversified, hire a good SEO company, like, get your SEO going, get your Google reviews high, all that stuff. So I don't like it as a long-term plan, personally. Because what ends up happening for most people, not everyone, I think Jonas is a good exception to this rule, is you get, but Jonas isn't at risk of single channel risk with door to door. Yeah, that's what he's done so well with. What happens when you have single channel risk is, I think it's very difficult for you to make money. And so you end up just spending all your money on getting your door-to-door reps, and so if your goal is add a lot of accounts, grow really fast, then cool, you will manifest that. And if your goal is to grow a lot of accounts and then sell to a company, that is becoming less and less of a real option for door-to-door companies. So I've met with door-to-door companies that are like, we're going to grow by door-to-door for the next 6 years, and then we're going to turn door-to-door off, and we're going to switch to digital for 3 years. And I'm like, man, switching to digital is not an easy thing. It's not going to be flipping a switch.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't love it as a long-term option unless you can really diversify it well, which again, I think very few people in the industry have. But I really like it for a greenfield office or layering it on top of an acquisition.
Got it. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I agreed. Regardless of the marketing strategy, you have to be diversified. And and I wanted to ask you there regarding diversifying and other marketing strategies. So you guys have been primarily door to door, but what else have been like the main drivers of generating leads and sales for you guys?
So, our biggest thing, so we rank really well in our markets for SEO, and that's always helped us. I don't have any proof for this, none whatsoever. You're an SEO expert, maybe you do, but I believe that our door to door teams have helped our SEO searches immensely. So we've always ranked really well. We found, because we were pretty single track, single channel with door to door for so long, we would hire this. This is something I'd advise people not to do. We would hire cheap SEO providers that would help us rank, but didn't help us convert leads. So what we do now is we've actually brought on our team a marketing expert, an SEO specialist, and he manages relationships and vendors. And over the next 12 to 18 months, we will bring it all in-house. So we own it all. And that is one of the things that's our plan right now. And we've always grown really well on, we bring on 900 to 1,000 accounts outside of door to door every year, just through Google LSA and finding us on Google and customer referral. But that hasn't offset what we do in door to door. So, to answer your question, the thing that we've done is door to door, and that's gone really well. Our customer referral is really high, which is really helpful. And I think 2 years ago, our organic Google acquisition source started outranking our customer referral. So, it's just been organic Google and customer referrals and sprinkling in some LSA. But now we're moving forward. We're putting a big pause on door to door and trying to go really, really hard into other marketing channels.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll start to wrap up the show here, Greg. I've got one final question for you, which I ask all my guests, and that is, what is your message to the pest control owners out there? What do you want to tell them? What do you think they need to know?
I would say your job as an owner is to find the number one constraint that is holding your business back and doing everything you can to remove it. That's your job.
So always finding the bottleneck.
Yeah, your job is a bottleneck finder.
And
here's just the piece I would add to it. The amount of times I realize that I'm the bottleneck. Like, you've got to be willing to realize that you might be the bottleneck and then do what it takes to fix that.
So good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show, Greg. I really appreciate it. I know how valuable your time is. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm in the Pest Control Millionaires Facebook group. I love chatting with other pest control owners. So if I can ever help you, if I can ever answer a question, or you just want to chat, please reach out. I love it.
Awesome. Cool. So make sure to go follow Greg on LinkedIn and Facebook. Both those links will be in the description. And anything else you'd like to plug or promote?
No, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been great chatting with you, Greg. And hope to stay in touch.
Thank you.
Of course. Hey guys, Dan Leibrandt here. Thanks for listening to this episode of Pest Control Legends. I hope you found it valuable. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. I read every single one and I really appreciate it. Now, that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.